I love talking equipment with guys that like to talk equipment, especially guys that have been in the industry for a long time. I also really like hearing how guys will pitch the features and benefits of a machine and address competitive concerns. There's always something new to learn, even if it's just a new, fresher way to say something you've already been saying. So I thought I'd share this video I shot of Bob Gleason and Craig Toups from FMI Equipment talking about the Rayco RG37. Bob summarizes why a die-hard, competitive customer should consider using Rayco by adding better visibility, which will increase production, higher torque, so bigger bite with less wear and tear on the engine, and ease of maintenance. More power, more production, more safety, and more reliability to keep it up and grinding. Now, I'm a manufacturer's rep, so I kind of get paid to say these things. Bob and Craig are on the front lines building relationships with hardworking operators every day, though. Relationships that depend on honesty and trust. They aren't used car salesmen. These two guys are the real deal. All right, enough jibber jabber, let's jump in. Oh, and I recap everything at the end, so be sure to watch all the way through or skip to the back or whatever. We're doing a walk around on an RG37. Bob, you're going to talk about some key differences between this machine and the Vermeer.
The Vermeer, so the Vermeer 352, basically everything in the class from 27 horsepower to 37 in that same class. So they have a 27, a 35, and a 37 horsepower unit, and so we're going to kick their butt. So the main thing is visibility. Is from an operator standpoint, this is the #1 thing. They can get a better feel. Our hydraulic levers are self-leveling, so they're very responsive, very easy to use. The guys love that. They love the feedback. They love that all the controls are right here. It's not some rinky-dinky throttle that's going to bust. It's very strong. You have your emergency shutdowns here. There's a lot of safety features that remind the operator to stay away from the cutter wheel. But most importantly, a lot of these guys in this class, it's about production. They're looking for a return. And so having the visibility, a lot of guys will just work on sound, but it's nice if they can work on sound and being able to see it. So those are key features. Also important to notice is it'll grind not only when you're extended, but also when it's in place. The reason why this is important, your stump will still grind here, is because if you're in an area, let's say San Diego, where you have to go in an apartment building where there's an atrium or a middle, you can get through a tight area and still grind stumps, and that's huge to be able to have those options. Okay. We do have the backfill blade. Vermeer is putting on a backfill blade now. Ours is better. It's easier to operate, and so we also have some of the things we go through 2-speed. So we have on the 37. So there's the low and the high speed, so it makes it the travel getting to the stump a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. There's a lot of things. Oh, this is very, very important. It's important to understand too that Rayco is the innovator. Vermeer likes to claim, you go on their website, we started it. Right there, you know they're liars because they don't. They've actually followed our patents for years. We actually have this slew ring. If you look, it makes it easier to grease, and our design makes it so that we have a smoother, better arc. So it goes 52 inches, and it actually stays in the stump. We used to have an old pendulum style that would pull back, and so you wouldn't get it as clean when you're grinding this up. So you'd have less of an arc. Also, in the pendulum, it was harder to get to all the grease. It was harder to grease the pendulum style, and so you'd always have failures. So this slew ring is really nice because we haven't had failures. So that's huge. And Vermeer will probably have that in a couple years when our patent's off, and then they'll say they designed it. Lies.
All right, so if you're going around, this has a 37. This is the RG37, so it has a 37 horsepower Vanguard engine on it.
Yes.
Okay, and what do you think about power and torque with this engine?
I'll have to get the actual torque numbers, but I will say this: whenever we go head-to-head with Vermeer, that's the comment that we're getting from our Vermeer customer, is that our engine is better, that our whole design is better because we're getting a better bite. We can take a bigger bite with our units, and that all sounds be like salesmanship until you actually put it in the stump. So my recommendation, especially if you've used Vermeer, is to actually try these units, and then you'll see that it's not just salesmanship, that we actually are getting more torque. And again, we'll get the numbers for you. But definitely more torque.
Okay, so as we're walking around the machine, you've got the swing out controls, the arm that goes around, you've got the backfill blade here. This is the standard RG37. It's not the 4x4, so this is the 4x4 model here. You can also get duals on the front of this one.
So this is actually awesome. So our hydraulics, it's more than that. It's actually more than just a valving. There's actually hydraulic motors. So there's in the front, there's an independent, so they have hydraulic motors on each wheel, which is different than on your two-wheel drive. You just have the one in the back. It's back here and mounted and then split. So you actually have 3 different hydraulic motors, which is awesome. So this is a unit we sell a lot in the San Diego area, where there's a lot of hills. And so this is actually one of our most popular in hilly areas. Actually, nice communities, let's say Brentwood in LA, San Diego. It's awesome for getting up hills, and even it does a really good job tracking on when there's sand or dirt. It does a really nice job of grabbing.
Okay, so if you're in unusual terrain other than just flat, the 4x4 version of our stump grinder is nice. How about the track version? What's your experience with those in different terrains?
Does a great job. You can get on about a 22-degree slope. The thing I like about the track unit is that it does climb very, very well. Pros and cons. Here's why this unit becomes more popular than track. When we have track, the flotation, so you get into nice areas, and so when you've got to turn on nice grass, this doesn't dig in and tear up the grass. On the track unit, whether it's Vermeer or whoever, it's like a mini skid steer. There's a 0 radius turn, and so with those tracks, it has a tendency when you make turns to dig up the grass. Vermeers are notorious for that. Ours tears up the grass as well, but just not as bad. And these tires, this is why this actually will out-track the track unit and not tear up the grass when you're turning. If you look at even just the thickness of the steel, this is the gauge of the steel is much thicker, much heavier duty than Vermeer. That would be something that actually gets specs on. There's a lot of things here that and then just from memory we can go. I mean, our cutter wheel is 1.5 inches, Vermeer's 1 inch. So that's definitely a feature. That adds to more torque because there's more weight. Part of the torque equation. Easy to get to the fittings. Very important to keep these greased. I guess this isn't really a maintenance class, but it's nice that there's a lot of rotation. This shaft can have a tendency to go out, but because it's really easy to get to the zerks, we don't have a ton of problems unless it's not greased. That is an area that as long as it's greased, we don't have issues.
What are some areas that you see that are not often maintained that should be?
The belts, very important to keep the belts maintained, and so you got to pull these off and make sure your belts are tight. The shafts, both bearings here, shafts on the top, and then the cutter wheel. Okay, you're back to the
slewing ring.
Easy to do, and so but again, if those aren't done, you will have issues with that drying up. Those are really the main ones because that's where all the rotation and all the heat occur. There's other zerks, like in the tires and such. Those just aren't. They're important, but not as critical.
Okay, so we've got the RG37. We got an RG37 4x4 side by side here. You've outlined a lot of the benefits between both of these machines. If you've got a die-hard Vermeer guy, what's your bottom line statement of why they should use a Rayco machine?
Visibility, which is going to increase production, horsepower, and not only that, not just saying it on paper, but actually having the torque so that you're going to cut and it's going to have less, you're not going to damage your engine because you're going to be able to take a bigger bite with less wear and tear on the engine. That's huge. And then the ability to keep it up and running. Everything's easy to grease, easy to get to. And I think by far, so not only are you going to have more power, more production, and more safety, but you're going to have more reliability to keep it up and grinding. You had a guy right now say, why Rayco over? I've heard you on the phone.
Well, I think there's the main two reasons is, well, there's three. One is engineering. Two is the way that we support the swivel on our base.
The slewing ring?
Yeah, the slewing ring. It's very easy to get to and it's very reliable. We use less cylinders. The swing out control panel. And that's the main thing. They run the same similar engine. Our cutter wheel is slightly bigger than theirs. So.
Which, the benefit of that, in your opinion?
Oh, weight, inertia. It's just a matter of being able to take the cut.
Yeah, and
The main thing, though, is our slew, how we attach it, how easy it is to maintain. The cutter wheel, the teeth. Once again, the teeth, in Rayco's opinion, is a better way to go. Vermeer has some funky setups in regards to their yellow jacket teeth,
Right.
which
You can use green teeth. And,
yeah, I mean, so or you can use green teeth and everything. But the main things, I mean, just engineering and stuff, it's very clean.
it's a solid machine, too.
I have been told by some of our customers that the bushings on the cylinders are easier when it's time for them to change it. It's easier for them to get to and to change those.
Gotcha.
So if you had to pull these off and change the bushings, it's pretty simple.
Okay.
I mean that's a good thing.
I know that everybody will tell you how much smoother our cutting system is, and a lot of it is because of the way that this is attached to the frame of the head.
Yeah.
It's just so much smoother. Once again, as far as the width on it too, I don't know for special.
So maintenance on that slewing ring.
Fastest way, have two guys do it, one guy greasing, the other guy moving it back and forth. And then do each one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the guy has to grease and then move it and then grease it.
Right, right.
But it is easier to do.
There you have it. Bob and Craig did a pretty good job covering every part of the machine, but let's recap. Number one, Rayco uses a higher quality of materials and better engineering. If you put these machines side by side with the competitive model, the difference will be obvious. Number two, the cutter head pivots using the slewing ring design, which lowers the center of gravity and allows for the full depth across the entire swing. This means the operator will be less likely to tip over on inclines, has more force while cutting because it's closer to the stump, will allow them to access a wider stump without having to reposition the machine. It also uses less cylinders, which means less to maintain, while maximizing hydraulic power and making it a much smoother cut. I do want to mention Bob used the word arc, but that would not be true for a Rayco grinder. Rayco stump grinders do not arc. He just meant swing. Number three, less grease zerks, and they're easier to get to. This means it's easier to maintain with less downtime. Number four, the cutter wheel is thicker than that of the competitive model, which gives the Rayco stump grinder an advantage on getting through the stump. More steel and more bite through the wood. Number five, the controls are directly over the valves, which means the knobs are very responsive to touch and gives maximum control to the operator. Number six, swing out controls allow the operator to work from the inline position in tight working spaces or from the side of the machine, giving the operator more visibility, which increases production and safety. And finally, number seven, better horsepower and torque, making the RG37 a stronger and faster machine. I hope you found some value in this. Drop your questions, comments in the comment section below, or reach out to me directly. Craig and Bob, if you're watching this, I did call you old. I did. I apologize ahead of time. I guess it's not ahead of time. I've actually published this video, so it wouldn't be ahead of time. So I guess I'm sorry, but hey, man, I'm getting old too. So what am I going to say? Take the high road.